France. Antarctique was a French colony south of the equator, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which existed between 1555 and 1567, and had control over the coast from Rio de Janeiro to Cabo Frio. The colony quickly became a haven for the Huguenots, and was ultimately destroyed by the Portuguese in 1567. Colonization attempt. Europeans first arrived in Brazil in April of 1500, when a fleet commanded by Pedro Álvares Cabral on behalf of the Portuguese crown arrived in present-day Porto Seguro, Bahia. Except for Salvador, however, the territory still remained largely unexplored. Half a century later, early French involvement with Brazil. Early expeditions of French Norman sailors to the New World have been suggested. Jean Cousin has been said to have discovered the New World in 1488, 4 years before Christopher Columbus, when he landed in Brazil around the mouth of the Amazon, but this remains unproven. His travels were succeeded by that of Bernat Palmier de Gonville in 1504 on board l'Espoir, which was properly recorded and brought back a Native American person named Esmeric. Gonville affirmed that when he visited Brazil, French traders from Saint Malo and Jep had already been trading there for several years. France continued to trade with Brazil, especially loading Brazil wood for its use as a red dyes for textiles. In 1550, in the royal entry for Henry II of France, at Rouen, about 50 men depicted naked Indians in a battle between the Tupinamba allies of the French, and the Tabajara Indians. Colonization. On November 1, 1555, French Vice-Admiral Nicolas Durand de Villegagnon, a Catholic knight of the Order of Malta, who later would help the Huguenots to find a refuge against persecution, led a small fleet of 2 ships and 600 soldiers and colonists, and took possession of the small island of Sergipe in the Guanabara Bay, in front of present-day Rio de Janeiro, where they built a fort named Fort Colini. The fort was named in honor of Gaspar de Coligny, an admiral who supported the expedition and would use the colony in order to protect his co-religionists. To the still largely undeveloped mainland village, Villegagnon gave the name of Henryville, in honor of Henry II, the King of France, who also knew of and approved the expedition, and had provided the fleet for the trip. Villegagnon secured his position by making an alliance with the Tamao and Tupinamba Indians of the region, who were fighting the Portuguese. 1557 Calvinist arrival. Unchallenged by the Portuguese, who initially took little notice of his landing, Villegagnon endeavored to expand the colony by calling for more colonists. In 1556, he sent one of his ships, the Grande Roberge, to Honfleur, entrusted with letters to King Henry II. Gaspar de Coligny and, according to some accounts, the Protestant leader John Calvin. After one ship was sent to France to ask for additional support, 3 ships were financed and prepared by the King of France and put under the command of Sieur de Bois-le-Comte, a nephew of Villegagnon. They were joined by 14 Calvinists from Geneva, led by Philippe de Courguiere, including theologians Pierre Richier and Guillaume Chartres. The new colonists, numbering around 300, included 5 young women to be wed, 10 boys to be trained as translators, as well as 14 Calvinists sent by Calvin, and also Jean d'Elie Coutaroy, who would later write an account of the colony. They arrived in March 1557. The relief fleet was composed of the Petite Roberge with 80 soldiers and sailors, was led by Vice-Admiral Sieur de Bois-le-Comte. The Grande Roberge with about 120 on board, captained by Sieur de Sainte-Marie d'Ittler-Espine. The Rosaire, with about 90 people, led by Captain Rosaire. doctrinal disputes arose between Villegagnon and the Calvinists, especially in relation to the Eucharist, and in October 1557 the Calvinists were banished from Coligny Island as a result. They settled among the Tupinamba until January 1558, when some of them managed to return to France by ship together with Jean de Lecoutard, and 5 others chose to return to Coligny Island, where 3 of them were drowned by Villegagnon for refusing to recant. Portuguese intervention in 1560. Mem de Sá, the new Governor-General of Brazil, received from the Portuguese government the command to expel the French. With a fleet of 26 warships and 2,000 soldiers, on 15 March 1560, he attacked and destroyed Fort Coligny within 3 days, but was unable to drive off their inhabitants and defenders, because they escaped to the mainland with the help of the native Brazilians, where they continued to live and to work. Admiral Villegagnon had returned to France in 1558, disgusted with the religious tension that existed between French Protestants and Catholics. He had come also with the second group, urged by 2 influential Jesuit priests who had come to Brazil with Mem de Sá, named José de Anchieta and Manuel da Nóbrega, and who had played a big role in pacifying the Tamios. Mem de Sá ordered his nephew, Estacio de Sá, to assemble a new attack force. Estacio de Sá founded the city of Rio de Janeiro on March 1, 1565, and fought the Frenchmen for 2 more years, helped by a military reinforcement sent by his uncle on January 20, 1567. He imposed final defeat on the French forces and decisively expelled them from Brazil, but died a month later from wounds inflicted in the battle. Coligny's and Villegagnon's dream had lasted a mere 12 years, largely in response to the 2 attempts of France to conquer territory in Brazil, between 1612 and 1615. The Portuguese crown decided to expand its colonization efforts in Brazil. Sequels. Other projects were made for the occupation of parts of Brazil in 1579, following the death of Dom Sebastian at the Battle of Alcaçarquibir, and also in 1582 under Admiral Filippo di Piero Strozzi, cousin of Catherine de' Medicis. In the 17th century, France again briefly established a colony in Brazil with the establishment of France Equinoxial. On the 21st of September 1711, in the 11-day Battle of Rio de Janeiro, René du Guidroan captured Rio de Janeiro, then believed impregnable, with 12 ships and 6,000 men, in spite of the defense consisting of 7 ships of the line, 5 forts and 12,000 men. He held the governor for ransom. Investors in this venture doubled the money, and du Guidroan earned a promotion to Lieutenant General de la Marine.